I'd like to welcome all of you to our Tech on the Board debate and thank everyone for coming and thank our sponsors. We are at an amazing time in chess with so many technological changes in recent years. Much of the game has moved online, partly thanks to COVID, but has continued strong post-pandemic. We have amazing breakthroughs in chess engine technology, where the right move is sometimes right at our fingertips. And more recently, we have AI breakthroughs leading to potential changes in how chess is taught and with coaching and who knows what else. So we're going to see what opportunities this is going to bring in the coming years. Our panelists are going to debate and explain to us. And also what challenges that's going to bring. Are we going to be reliant too much on technology? Are we going to make wrong choices? What do we have to be wary for? We've already introduced our speakers. We're going to have a debate format, so I would encourage all of you, even after a question's been addressed to another panelist, please jump in when you have something to say. All right, to get started, let's start with Tyson. How do you see new breakthroughs in AI technology affecting chess teaching going forward?
Is this okay? Great. Thank you, Jeremy. I am very interested in AI in education. I run a tech company called Miyagi Labs, and we use AI to generate courses from content, all types of content, YouTube videos, textbooks, and you can upload a piece of content and using generative AI have a personalized course generated for you. And with chess, it was always my interest as a chess master. I grew up playing in chess tournaments to have a personal tutor for myself, a personal chess coach for myself. And I set out to build an AI chess coach, fully autonomous coach that you could have a board and basically interact with the chessboard using an LLM. You can think of ChatGPT that knows the state of the chessboard. And I set on that path and then realized that AI, although it may be good at finding the best move, it's not great at explaining the best move. And the technology isn't good yet for chess. And I think it's architecturally, LLMs are built to predict the next best character or word in a string of words, and that doesn't sort of mesh well with chess, that you need to see n moves ahead and calculate at each board state in each move. So I don't think LLMs are best designed for chess understanding yet. I think the tech team may have a demo that they could pull up if they can hear me or pull that up now. But yeah, so you can see here, and perhaps somebody, I can't interact with it, but somebody from the team maybe can make some moves on the board. White moves first, white. do white, try to move white first, yeah. Okay, black now, make a move. Okay, make a few more, yeah, alternate. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and then you can ask the chess coach, you can say, how does this position look for black? Can you type that in on the right side? Yeah. How does this position look for white or black, or Okay, it says white is doing fine, the position is roughly equal, both sides have developed one pawn to control the center, and white is preparing to Fanketto the bishop with g3. Now, had I been behind the controls, and I would have showed you the Sicilian defense and went into some complex line, and what you would have seen is that although it's good in the opening. It knows all the openings. It was trained on thousands of chess books, so it knows the names of lines and positions. But once you start doing many exchanges and going into complex positions, it starts to break down. The accuracy goes down very quickly, and it's not going to be able to give you a nuanced reason for why this capture is worse than this capture, or what's the implications further down of this pawn structure. I wouldn't trust it 15, 20 moves in. But for the opening, constrained to positions or the beginning stages of a game, I think it can do very well at teaching people how to play and certain very early stage implications. But yeah, this is a live link. You can play with it. It's miyagilabs.ai/chess. There's computer analysis as well. It factors in the Stockfish's analysis and tries to be your personal AI coach. I don't know if anyone on the panel has any thoughts on this type of teaching. I think there are limitations, but I think in the future when LLMs do get better, this could very well be a very useful tool for kids learning or anybody learning around the world.
I'm curious, what rating strength of understanding would you give it?
I think objectively it's like around 1700 if you were to play with it. But that wasn't really what I was most interested in, is like its ability to make the best moves. You have Stockfish for that. I wanted it to be able to explain to you why a move is good or bad, and solve the explainability problem of chess. Stockfish, they can give you the best move, but can't tell you why it's the best move. So
is the explanation like roughly the understanding level of a particular ELO?
Probably less. I'd say 1500. I mean, but it's probably on a similar stage as its playing strength, I'd say.
Gotcha. Cool.
Can you at this stage ask it, is black intending G5, or does black want to stop a pin with bishop G5?
You sure can. If the tech, can you ask it another question here? Can you ask it, is black intending to play G5? Can you guys hear me? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Something that I think is always worth reminding an audience of chess players is that the average rating on chess.com is in the ballpark of 600. So a 1700 rated AI would be an immensely useful coach if it's good at explaining things for the vast majority of chess players.
Yes.
The question is black intending
G5.
intending to play the move ... like point, okay, G5. Letter G, number 5. Yeah. Oh.
It got reset.
Yeah, I got reset. Is black intending? Oh, well.
It's not gonna.
Yeah, it's
Context was lost.
Context was lost. But yes, Kenneth, you can ask it these questions.
Okay.
And I think it would tell you yes. I think it sees H6 is played, but
Yeah, G5 and H5 are popular computer moves nowadays.
yeah.
That'll get into a different topic.
Are there like certain categories of understanding that you notice it's significantly better at, or like certain, I don't know, types of thinking, whether it's like calculation or positional or tactical or sort of like space control?
Anything that is more accessible in the training data of the LLMs, it would be good at, and that's sort of history or just opening development, because I think that's where majority of chess literature is written on, is openings and history. So I think it's best at the opening stage and which variations are most popular and so forth. But calculation-wise, no. I think architecturally, LLMs are not the best calculators per se. There's no like depth search embedded in the LLM algorithms. So,
Gotcha.
Can I kind of pose a follow-up question to that? What kind of data, my background is in education technology and curriculum development, so I'm kind of like the outlier here on the chess side. What kind of data do you think would be necessary for an AI to effectively predict better moves in chess teaching online?
That's sort of a question, how to make LLMs better at chess. And I think there's as many possible positions as atoms in the universe, you'd have to sort of train an LLM or show it, a number of positions that even if you showed it, there's not enough data for it to solve chess per se, for an LLM to do that. So to answer your question, you'd have to do that, but that's already incredibly difficult. It's sort of to make it. So yeah, I'm not sure.
So building on that, which parts of chess teaching do you consider to be irreplaceable with the tech of today, or maybe in the near future, and which parts are going to, so I guess which parts are going to be replaced soon by technology, and which parts are always going to require a human teacher? Elle, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, definitely. So my biggest takeaway in creating, online curriculums using LLMs in that experience, obviously, I've learned from these people that chess isn't great at, LLMs are not great at chess, but even if we were to get to a world where AI could perfectly tutor chess and train people without any human interaction, I think there's something so intrinsically valuable about community and being with one another and learning from one another, whether it be, playing a game with a new friend a kid meets at a tournament or getting to meet someone that they've idolized their entire life. At its core, AI is artificial. It's never going to be able to replicate that tangible, visceral experience that comes with being with one another.
I want to involve Mr. Jesper Hall here. With millions of possible chess partners now just a click away online, is there still an important role for local or scholastic clubs? And how can we keep clubs relevant in the internet age?
So this is the question to me, I guess. From what I understand. Well, first of all, I think that today the key question, not only in chess but in all type of learnings, is about how to use technology to be our friend and not to be our enemy. Because in the end, it's all about us, the human beings, that should be the ones that is gaining new skills, gaining new experiences. And in a school situation, when the target is, at least when it comes to chess and education, what we want to achieve, that is to develop skills, like social skills, like developing cognitive skills. And then I think that the meeting between people are the central things. And technology that can be used in that kind of context would not be focusing on this social element. So in that sense, I think that not the least when it comes to scholastic and especially when it comes to chess and education that have higher goals than only developing chess skills, here technology should, not be in focus when it comes to chess teaching inside schools.
All right. Garry Kasparov has observed that, in his opinion, modern young players often just want to know the best move as opposed to knowing why that's the best move or how you could find it yourself. With engines like Stockfish and these other strongest entities in the history of the game at our fingertips, how should we use these for proper chess learning, and what pitfalls do we need to avoid? Let's start with Ken.
Okay, well, I'm not directly in the field. I posed the question as a challenge to my panel mates who actually do education. All I can say is that not formally scientifically, but in the process of doing things, I believe that computers have improved the overall objective standard of play at all levels, including elite levels. This I observed in the 2010 to 2019. Then the pandemic upset the rating system and the means by which I can tell these things, and I'm recalibrating now. However, I do randomized resampling of games to ascertain games that give the highest scores that require me to adjust my tolerances so I don't have too many high scores and false positives. And those sets of games most often came from 2019 and 2018. And I have on my front academic webpage a graph showing evidence of even of an uptick as early as 2015. So Tyler Cowen believes that that there has been a response to the availability of computers, improving the play even of purely human games. Okay, we've brought it into our brain somehow. But how that should be exemplified for teaching, Kasparov in the quote I pulled up was decrying that students just want to know the best move and not the how or why understanding that Tyrone's app is attempting to convey. So I'll let others speak as to what challenge that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very cool that, you know, we've built engines that are better than us at something. I think in a lot of, I guess, like physical domains, like sports, the humans kind of hit a plateau of achievement. Like people are never going to be able to run faster than some speed. And sure, you know, people are trying to shave off microseconds, but there is kind of this asymptote that they reach. And I think within intellectual domains, that's kind of a cool facet of it is we can build things that are smarter than us and learn from those things and use those to kind of like achieve a fully new frontier of performance. And so I guess the gap to be bridged there more is you know, if those engines could explain to us what they were doing and why they were doing it more accurately, that, you know, there's potentially a lot more room to grow there.
But there's a difference between why Stockfish thinks a move is best, that's mathematical, why a neural net thinks a move is best, nobody knows, it's unexplainable. How do we put that explanation in human terms?
I think an interesting possible counterpoint to Kasparov is that even if they might not be amazing at explaining it, there are more young prodigies today learning from these engines than ever before. So they're clearly understanding something by seeing what Stockfish says the best move is.
Sure, but I'm sure that growth and, you know, people getting better is because of Stockfish, but I think also there's some like correlation with just the accessibility of chess resources online, you know, Chessable, and a lot more content is, educational chess content is accessible online. So I'm sure that also played a role, not just Stockfish. And I think as far as, you know, I also run a nonprofit called The Gift of Chess that I founded during the pandemic, and you know, we were able to reach a lot of areas around the world that, you know, don't have chess sets and physical chess boards. The Gift of Chess, we send chess sets all over the world. We recently did a project where we sent 1,000 chess sets all across Africa to each African country. So over 40,000 chess sets across Africa. But, you know, you see this movement from the pandemic, chess education being online. And that was great. It could reach a lot more people than when it was just over a physical board. There's a lot of places in the world that do not have physical chess sets. So connectivity to the game has definitely improved, I think, because of, you know, in some degree, the pandemic and, you know, the Queen's Gambit, it became super popular. So online chess education, it was only beneficial, I think, for people. But there is an importance of over-the-board play, the social aspects of chess that are super important as well. But a balance, I think we've all benefited from, you know, the online movement of chess and streaming and then so forth.
Yeah, I think let's build on that a little bit. I think it's undeniable that chess education has moved much more into online spaces, and we just heard some about the benefits. I would like to question, has there been costs as well? Have there been costs as well? I work for chess.com, so obviously I think that chess is great in online spaces, but it's possibly caused challenges for the ability to make clubs, and I'd like to hear if our panelists have more on that topic. Elle, would you like to start?
I mean, I'm sure Ken has a lot to say here. When I think of like immediate challenges presented by advancement of technology in chess, cheating is the first one to come to mind. And I think, cheat detection is an extremely difficult task across all games. I've worked on cheat detection in poker and bridge as well, but chess specifically, it's extremely difficult because we have situations where humans can mirror the performance of top engines, and then we have situations where it would be very unlikely for humans to arrive at the move that a top engine would arrive at. And so kind of differentiating between those spots and trying to ascertain what types of behavior our cheating tells is extremely difficult and also extremely necessary to facilitate optimal online play.
I completely agree with that statement.
Excellent. For the next one, I'd like to get the opinion of everyone here, but let's start with Jesper. What technological changes have most influenced the chess teaching methodology that you've used in the last few years? And if it has, also, how has it changed your teaching philosophy at all, besides just the methodology?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important for me to make a clear distinction between the goal of the chess training. I work in the field both of top talent training. I have been working now with a project together with Ramesh from India and together with Magnus Carlsen and Offerspiel in Norway to develop top talents. But on the same side, I'm also working with chess in education. As a chairman of ECU Education and also in Sweden and Norway, I've been working with chess in schools. And for me, there is a clear distinction between those two, and not the least the use of technology. When it comes to chess in education, the goal is to develop social and intellectual skills. And in all the research and all the surveys we have done, the first thing that teachers will see when they do chess in education is the social aspect, that everyone can join in. Doesn't matter if you're boy or girl, your age, if you have even if you have a disability, everyone can play on equal ground. And for that reason, I think that it's very important that we let chess become a board game inside the classroom. And the support we can get is, of course, to have prepared lessons. It can be that you can be supported through a digital media and so on. And of course, outside the classroom, the children can make use of these different fantastic platforms that have already been mentioned by some of the other participants in this debate. But it could also be said that, for example, when I was 2 years ago, I was arranging together with Ramesh and David Howell, we created a camp in Norway where Magnus Carlsen came as a trainer and was telling about how he was working with chess. And Praganananda and some of the other top talents of the world were there in this camp. And they were very surprised to hear that Magnus do not use computers. Or at least as little as possible. The reason for that is that if you use computers, if you get this type of help, you get lazy. And instead, he reads a lot of books because he needs to be active and he needs to understand for himself. And I think this was an eye-opener to many of those who took part in this camp. Also, when it comes to talents and when it comes to develop chess skills, because in the end, it's you yourself who should be there, and you should be the one who is learning, not only getting the result and the correct way to play. Just like Kasparov said, you do need to understand how and why the moves are played, and this is what Magnus meant. Okay, don't forget, he's got Peter Heine Nielsen, who is working with computers all the time, and they're serving him with the best lines and so on. So it's not really fair to say that he's not using the computers. But still, I think for me, this is what I am thinking about most these days, is how can we use computers to become our friends, to develop the skills that we want the children to have, either if it is to become better in chess or if it is to develop social and intellectual skills.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to weigh in?
Yeah, I put in remarks, may have been read at the U.S. Open, that I was a junior player in the Bobby Fischer generation, but I regard the social skills as very much important part of my upbringing. Indeed, when I saw the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer and the attitudes of the parents there, which I know we've already heard today that there are pushy parents even at under 10 level, but my generation, we didn't really experience that. So I was friends with Fedorowicz and Benjamin and Michael Rowe, and Mark Deaston knew a little less so. So we had some real camaraderie, even playing sort of aerial soccer at the U.S. Junior in 1975. So that was a very important aspect of my development that I carried forward to my life outside the chess world. So it really heartens me to see emphasis away from machines and toward the necessity of interacting with other human beings. Yeah.
More and more chess learners are relying on video lessons nowadays. For example, YouTube or Chessable courses as their primary means of learning the game, when past generations largely used books. Has this improved the learning experience, making it more accessible, or has it in some ways made it shallower? Elle, would you like to start?
I don't know how well I can speak to it, again, in chess education, but definitely in my experience since the language model boom, I have a little brother, and he is 11 years old. We set him up with a ChatGPT account, right? He has completely taught himself to leverage vibe coding to build all the little projects that he wants. He called me up the other day, and he's like, I have something to show you. He shows me that he's taken this old PC from like 2009. He has had ChatGPT look at the card that's in that PC and tell him exactly what it can run. He used that information to ask the computer, what can this do for me? The AI linked him to a GitHub repo for a diffusion model. He downloaded it and is now generating his own images, sending them to his iPad and sending them to us. And so knowing that and knowing that he's doing that without my parents prompting him or a teacher prompting him or even a formal class, it really opens my eyes to the fact that these possibilities are endless. And so I'm sure that Tyrone can weigh in on this some of how kids can leverage his platform to put chess videos in and do something similar to what my brother Peter does.
Yeah, and I mean, I sort of rose up the chess ranks to master all from YouTube. I mean, I would consume endless YouTube videos on chess. The St. Louis Scholastic Chess Club has an incredible archive of Veruja lecture videos on chess, and I would be at the dinner table just having the YouTube video playing while I'm eating dinner all the time. So, and I didn't have to pay for YouTube. I didn't need to pay for a GM coach. Couldn't afford to pay for a GM coach. So, the proliferation of chess content on YouTube and so forth, it was incredible. I don't think I would have made Master had it not been for that content. And then throughout my academics, YouTube, I think, is the number one platform for learning anything. There were benefits for me also, attending chess camp in the summer and having, grandmasters at the chess camp where I could interact with and ask questions. And, I don't have that level of interactivity with YouTube. I can't ask whoever the GM is giving a lecture, a question that I may have. So human interaction at that point would have filled that gap, and then now you have LLMs. But as I mentioned, I think there are limitations with LLMs of chess. So with time, we'll see, can LLMs bridge that gap between a human chess coach and a video that has static information you can learn from. So I think, without YouTube or content online, I would not have became master, so it was super beneficial. In Miyagi, what we do is we try to bridge that gap between interactivity and content that's already out there in the world. Because we still have questions about things we read, we still have questions about information in videos, and we need that interactivity to fill those gaps and really take us to the next level of, I've mastered this thing, or I truly understand it. Yep.
Ken brought up another fascinating question, again regarding a comment Kasparov made. He actually calls it Kasparov's law, is that human plus AI will always be better than a human or an AI, but they must be combined, they'll always be superior. Do you guys agree that this is the case, and will it remain the case, even if it's true now? Ken, do you want to start with that?
Okay, well, so I'll tell a little bit of the backstory to this. So in the mid-2010s, the Department of Defense formulated the third offset strategy, and which was to leverage AI in order to compensate for geographical ills elsewhere. That's the offset of command and control in battlefield scenarios. And they adopted Kasparov's centaur chess motif as the metaphor by which to describe this and analyze this. Now, where I got involved was in the 10 years before, in the mid-aughties, so 20 years ago, they ran chess competitions, and Kasparov's, what the word freestyle then meant, of humans and computers allowed to team up. Basically legalized cheating, but with the programs of 20 years ago. And what was found was that human-computer teams won the tournaments ahead of entries that were computers playing alone, most notably Ribka playing alone. And the most headline-making person was Anson Williams of Britain. I think I've got the name right. He's only a 1900 player himself, but he was able to use his brain to interpret what a bank of computers were telling him, different computers saying different things, and he decided between them, and his team won the tournament. So that's what created the exciting idea. I had an academic paper in 2014 that verified that using the computers of 10 years later, 8 years later, as the judges, because that's what my work involves, they actually found that the human-computer teams made objectively better moves, not just winning the games. However, there's also a limit to that ability. So if your criterion is simply, can humans help computers find the best moves, as the computers get stronger, that wears off. In a comparable tournament held in 2014, I was not able to detect that effect. It was also at the limit of the resolution of my own methods. So, but there are many other respects in which human-computer teaming could be an advantage, namely for education, not just for mathematically finding the best move. And there I think an effect can persist, but that's not my department, so I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, so I would say I agree with everything you said. I think that a human plus AI will be strictly better than a human. I think a human plus an AI will converge, or an AI alone will converge toward that. So yeah, I guess I would say greater than or equal to. I think that there becomes a point where it's quite difficult for a human to add additional value to an AI. But I also think, like you were saying, there's a lot of value for AI in not only teaching to understand chess, but also in coaching and game preparation. I know a number of entities that are working on developing AI player simulators, so essentially understanding the tendencies of a particular opponent and training on those games to mimic the way that that player would play, both in terms of move style and also time allocation, and it can get things as granular as like speed of recapturing or a tendency to play tactical middle games or whatever it may be. And I think that a lot of us are familiar with the bots that chess.com has available for various famous players or celebrities. And I think that sort of next frontier of that is you have that for a much wider array of players that you could theoretically encounter in a tournament, and you could simulate playing against those players lots and lots and lots of times, assuming they have sufficient data available on, let's say, ChessBase.
That is true.
Yep. Yeah, actually, building on that, looking ahead, we've seen so much progress just in the last few years in terms of chess technology. What new technology for chess and chess teaching can we expect in the coming years, let's say the next decade? Tyrone, what do you think?
Assuming LLMs get a lot better, a fully functional AI chess coach that every person learning chess has access to, I think within the next decade is possible. I think would be the holy grail of true technology revolutionizing chess. I think also I've talked to some friends about being able to sort of estimate a player's rating through whether it be puzzles or a handful of games without having to play a long stretch of rated tournaments. Being able to estimate rating estimation, accurate rating estimation, I think is also not there yet. I think a fully functioning and accurate AI chess coach, in my mind, is a holy grail of advancing chess globally and making it accessible to all.
Yeah, I think chess is a very data-rich game, and a lot of that data is often discounted. There's a lot of focus primarily on the moves themselves, but I think there's a lot of information in the time spent and the player tendencies and the game history and a lot of pieces of the game that are informative in a modeling sense that people can actually learn a lot from. I wrote my thesis in college on in-game win probability modeling in chess, so sort of trying to imagine that you are going to watch a live probability estimate that is swinging around during the entire course of the game and will settle at 0 or 1 or 0.5, depending on the outcome of the game. But there are so many situational factors beyond just the raw state of the board and the engine evaluation that matter. There are a lot of features.
Time on the clock, I guess.
Yeah, time on the clock is huge. And percentage of time share that's sort of owned by a particular player, like a 1 minute to 5 minute ratio is very different than a 10 minute to a 50 minute ratio. And so there's a lot of these factors. Time is probably the number one outside of the position on the board and the evaluation that matters, but there are a number of factors also in terms of the way that the game reached a particular game state. So did a player spend a significant amount of time on a calculation and then not find a tactic? Or was a large blunder made at one point in the game, and perhaps a player will play more conservatively as a result of having made that blunder? And so there are a lot of these human tendencies that we can capture when building these kinds of in-game win probability models, and then those models are useful not only from a predictive sense, but also from a learning sense. And so we can derive lots and lots of very useful metrics for players. So a few that I think are interesting is phase dominance. So what phase of the game, opening, end game, or middle game, is a player strongest at? You can look at a win probability chart that starts somewhere near 50-50 and then settles at 0 or 1, and you can glean pretty different things depending on what phase of the game was most of that win probability actually accumulated. Did it stay at 50-50 for most of the game and then kind of swing towards 0 or 1 at the very end? Or did a player come out of the opening at 90% and then just accumulate that last 10% throughout the rest of the game? And those are very different player profiles that you can extract that information. It's also very useful to look at volatility of a win probability trajectory. So if you have a very tactically rich game, typically you'll see a win probability trajectory that's swinging around a lot more relative to a positional game where the win probability trajectory will have significantly less variance. And those can be very significantly different game types and can allow players to find game types that are representative of a particular profile that they're trying to study. And they can also find game types that are precisely the type of games they played, but without the mistakes or flaws that they had in their games. So I think there's so many ways that we can leverage even non-AI, just pure statistical models to better understand our own play and kind of make interesting observations about the game, whether it's for coaching or even just for our own curiosity and sort of ways to think about what is an appropriate time to allocate to this move, or getting, like, refining our intuition for, is there a tactic here? Is it worth me thinking? And I think a lot of those are things that it's sort of harder and less organized the way that people typically develop that intuition. And so I think formalizing the parts of chess that people typically don't talk about, or that are kind of these off the board decisions that you're making that are kind of ingredients to the decision that you make on the board, I think there's a lot of opportunity in that space.
Well, I'm going to digress and say, well, why can I? You made me want to bet on chess games after describing volatility. You described it like a stock. I don't know if you have any why I don't prediction markets or have chess. Can I bet on the World Chess Championship? Or
yeah, my original purpose in building these models was for betting. I will say that. But they're useful for a lot of things, and I think that, I guess the more popular chess gets as a game and the more of an audience, there is more of a betting market on it. I know a lot of chess purists are anti-betting or anti-luck in many forms, but I personally think it's like an interesting way to increase fan engagement.
Excellent. All right, we've heard from panels already today about the challenges and benefits of bringing chess to underserved groups, either underserved countries or bringing it into academic settings. Will there be new technologies in the next few years that make it easier for us to bring chess into classrooms or into underprivileged areas? Jesper, if you could start with this one.
Well, like I said, the question is again, what is the goal? What we have been speaking in this debate so far mainly is about how to develop chess skills. And I totally agree with most of the things that have been presented so far about the possibilities of using AI as a support to the development, and not the least, like was said, that it can analyze your playing style and help you with how to organize your training in the best way on your own hand, and so on. But when it comes to chess in education, this is very much a question about, is it actually to support the development of life skills, of social interaction, and of cognitive skills? Then I believe that the technology will be mainly for supporting teachers and instructors to have a good material, maybe to present like on PowerPoint and so on, as the focus should be on social interaction. And then have a classical board game, not the least, for example, in Scandinavia these days, more and more we are going away from technology when it comes to the classroom, as science has shown that the learning process, you need actually the teacher to give like a master class on what the topic is about. And the children needs to learn how to interact. They are working so much online with their computer games and so on. So they actually need to learn how to interact with each other. But of course, in school chess can also be about to develop chess skills. And this area, for not the least in after school activities where you have like a chess club, where you actually are focusing on trying to become better in chess, then I suppose that everything that we have been hearing so far about the possibilities can be used. Personally, I never use technology in a classroom. I never use technology when it comes to training also of top talents, because I want them to be active themselves. But outside the classroom, outside the training situation, of course, all these type of possibilities, platforms, working with preparing for your opponents and so on, technology is so important to make use of. But always it should be you who should be understanding, who've been learning. And for me, of all these things that we have been discussing so far, and these very interesting thoughts that have been we have heard so far, the crucial thing is always to make use of the technology so that it actually supports us, the human beings, so that we become stronger. And this is the question, and how this should be done in the best way. And I still that this is in focus of all chess training and development and education today, is this question: how do we make use of the technology in the best way? And we are still exploring it and trying to find the best way forward.
Thank you. And that brings us to a next question. We've had so much discussion about what great benefits technology can bring. We should also take a moment and think about what challenges are these technologies going to make us face? What temptations do we need to avoid in order for it to still be serving us and not have us serving the technologies? Ella, would you like to start with that?
Sure. I mean, I think, I guess this brings us to AI alignment. I think that there are some people who believe that the technologies should not strictly be serving us. I can't say that I'm one of them, but that is a popular movement. I think that from my personal perspective, like, I want to use technology in every way possible that will make me smarter. And I think that there are, and you're already kind of seeing this, like this splitting of people who interact with LLMs on a daily basis. Like, half of them are getting lazier and getting less competent, and half of them are using that to multiply their knowledge. And so I think it becomes largely kind of in the hands of the user, and a responsibility to maintain the components of your own mind that you believe that you require. But I also think that, by no means is alignment solved, and as the capacity of AIs increases, like, there is a lot of uncertainty.
I really like what you said about, like, maintaining the components of your own mind, because, we can go on forever about, like, are we serving the technology? Is it serving us? It really, I am a daily LLM user, and it almost has to become symbiotic in a way in order to get the most out of your interactions with diffusion models or large language models, or, whatever wrapper you're downloading onto your computer to use to enhance your skill sets. You have to learn to speak in its language, or you're just going to become lazy. You can't just ask it an open-ended question and expect to actually learn something. You have to go in and learn about the prompt engineering and about the different things that it can do and mold it into something that's beneficial to you and the community that you're serving as a result of the knowledge that you're bringing into the world from it.
What components of the mind can you identify? Like some examples.
I think it goes into, like, whatever the vocation is in the work that you're doing, right? So your goals, what drives those goals, the people that are going to be impacted by the work that is produced from those goals all need to be in alignment in order for you to craft strategic use of the tools available to us.
Now, is there a way to phrase those tools independent of any one project? Like a skill set you bring to a task of excelling at a coding task, similar to the skill set for a task of playing chess?
I think that you can have a core skill set for yourself, or a core, manifesto goal for yourself, whatever you want to call it, and adapt that to different use cases across the board.
What I'm thinking of, and this is prompted by something Ella said about 15 minutes ago about profiling players, is something like the NFL Combine. Aspiring players are graded on various physical abilities. How fast can they run? How fast can they jump? How many reps can they do quick? What's their quickness of mind and action? And when you play a game like Madden, you have skill sets of players that go into the rating score that they have, and kids also play these multiplayer card games with wizards and demons and monsters that have various powers. So how can we identify those powers and core mental skills in chess? Not just strategy, tactics, but recovery from blunders, endgame play, that sort of thing.
And Ken, as one of the world's leading cheat detection experts, what challenges are you specifically getting with new technologies, and how are you compensating for that?
Well, okay. So what I just said will be part of my talk tomorrow, but now is on the cheating end. Yeah, there's a physical side and a statistical side. I'm not an expert on the physical side, so one of the things that's coming down the pike, though, in a few years are see-through monitors, which means that people will now be able to look through their screen and see an accomplice, which is going to take away one of the video cheating fighting techniques that have been employed. So, but on the other hand, I won't be directly involved in that, but I will, however, probably see statistical deviations from the resulting games. So, I just take the data as it comes. I don't necessarily ask how it was produced.
Excellent, and I'd actually like to thank you for the next question as well. Ken mentioned to me that there's been a whole, more than 100-year history of the evolution of ideas in chess. We've had the development of the positional school by Steinitz, the hypermodern school in the 1920s, active play coming after that, the more recently Kasparovs and other players, advancing side flank pawns more aggressively. Even in the engine age, there's been developments within engines being more materialistic and more aggressive. Are we reaching a point where chess evolution is at an end and the machine will just spit out an answer and there's no more room for debate? Or are machines helping us, just giving more ideas in these future discussions? Ken, would you like to add to that and start?
Yeah, and I'll just add that I phrased question. I was inspired by chess literature, just as Jennifer said in her presentation this morning. There she is, yes. But I was also thinking of, these evolutions came from reappraising value, which were great educational developments in the teaching of chess in the past 100 years. One of them identified was the Soviet school of chess. But now, computers give us objective value far beyond our human capacity. We can't reappraise it, maybe, or maybe we can reappraise our understanding and use of it. It seems like it brings evolution to an end, and that's what I was really posing, with some regret.
I don't know. I think there's still room for more phases of evolution. I think originally, when engines started becoming a major part of people's training, people started referring to moves as engine-like, like moves that had the quality of what an engine would think of that a human wouldn't think of. And then stronger players were often praised for eventually doing moves that were perceived as like non-human moves. And I think that the more familiarity we get with sort of the intricacies of these qualities of moves, we can kind of learn to see that space as like many, many more subsets of different styles. And so I would also say, to the extent that we can learn from engines, we can also invent strategies if we are specifically focusing on human versus human play. I have a friend who's known for inventing gambits and going very, very deep into the theory of them and playing these gambits, and he has a lot of success playing them in tournaments, and he does it purely for fun. But people perform very poorly when they're put in unfamiliar situations. And so I think that there's sort of a whole realm of play to unlock that may not be what the computer thinks is best, but may actually lead to good outcomes in human versus human chess.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, just to give my personal opinion, that we can learn a ton from engines, and we're in some ways just, at the beginning of the engine chess revolution, because one thing we've learned, for hundreds of years now, there's been debate about we're learning too much, we're going to get the draw death of chess. And that's true in engine versus engine games to some extent. But the fact that engines can beat humans so easily, even often down a piece, or in speed chess, down a queen these days, shows us how poorly humans are playing chess, and how if you can learn even 1% of what the engine's doing and be able to replicate it, you'll be able to win so many of your games against other humans. Mm-hmm. All right, we have a little bit of time left. I'd like to get each of you, what is one big takeaway that you would like the audience to have about how technology is influencing chess these days, and how you predict it's going to influence chess in the coming years, both playing and teaching? I think those are both interesting topics. Let's start with Jesper, and then we'll go down the line. We can't hear you.
I am now. I hope you can hear me now.
We can,
because
thank
I
you.
have my microphone on. Well, I cannot do much about that. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it
Yes.
okay?
Yes, you're coming through well. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Anyway, first of all of those technology that we have been speaking about, I think it's a fantastic situation for us now to be able to identify our weaknesses when it comes to our play, to get help about what to practice, what topics, and so on. But the hard work, and this is the thing I think is important not to forget, the hard work you have to do on your own. You have to be active. So even though we can be supported by the technology in different ways, as been mentioned already by most of the participants in this debate, still the hard work we have to do. And this could never be forgotten, that there is no easy route forward. You have to do the hard work, even though you are supported by technology and so on, you need to understand, you need to be active to be able to play good by the board. And I think that this is the key for the future. Also, when I work with top talents, this is the key to understand that there is no easy route. You have to do the hard work the old way, even though supported by all this fantastic technology that we will have supporting us.
Thank you. Elle, would you like to go?
Yeah, I think that my biggest takeaway, being on the outside of the chess side of this debate, but more on the EdTech side, is to always remember the power of human mentorship. I would have never guessed how chess would not be able to be explained simply by LLMs. And so just knowing that we shouldn't be giving in to the fear-mongering of AI taking over everything, supplementary instead, and having a real community around you to support that.
Thank you. Ken?
Yeah, for a different way of saying the same thing, for a mission such as teaching humans how to play chess and appreciate chess, we need the human purposing of what the AI is for, rather than using the AI in what can I do to get ahead mode.
Yeah, I would say in both playing and teaching, I would encourage many people to be more aware of things beyond the moves they're making. I know, at the highest level, the focus is on the moves on the board, but I think for almost everyone, there is a lot of room to improve in the decision-making space, time allocation, deciding where to think, when to reduce the complexity of the position, when to maintain it. A lot of these external decisions are actually a very huge component of skill.
I would say, keep in mind how you use AI when learning. It's one thing to ask AI for the answer, and then another thing to ask AI for practice problems that you can solve, and you yourself work to get better at something. And I think also you should keep an eye out for an AI chess coach in the next few years, and keep your eyes on the development of LLMs in the chess realm. I think there's limitations now, but beyond just what a brilliant move is or a great move, but to give me an explanation of why this move is good, or what are the nuances here. I think that's coming in the next few years, so to keep an eye out on that.
Well, this has all been incredibly enlightening to me. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their time and all of their ideas. And thank you.